Good morning or good afternoon to everyone who is attending to our event Turning Nature-Based Solutions into Impact. My name is Burçak Tuzlu. I'm the Global Consultants Lead at Crown Helix. I'm also part of JUSTNature project. So this online event brings together the three EU-funded projects, JUSTNature, UPSURGE and Invest for Nature. These projects are exploring how nature-based solutions are being developed, implemented, and scaled in practice. So today we will be discussing with our dear panelists and speakers about the outcomes and how we're going to scale all NBS to the practice. Before we start, I would like to let everyone know that we have a dedicated time for the Q&A session. At the end of each session, you will have the chance to ask your questions, but please also note your questions into chat. So we will make sure that we're going to address them one by one. So if we may start with our first speaker, Jessica Ballest, Senior Researcher at URAC Research and Just Nature Coordinator. She will be introducing us JUSTNature project. So Jessica, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Balest. I'm a researcher and sociologist at UREC Research, which is a research institute based in the northeast Italy. On behalf of JUSTNature Project and UREC Research, I welcome you to this event organized within the Nature Building Helix. This event is part of a series of concluding and celebratory events that we are running to share results and debate with other nature-based solution-related projects. The overall objective of JUSTNature is to promote the activation of nature-based solutions, ensuring a just transition towards low-carbon cities. We have grounded this in the principle of the right to ecological space, so the right to clean air and to healthy thermal comfort conditions, both in outdoor and indoor environments. We put a lot of attention to protect people's health and well-being, as well as to protect biodiversity. We have started the project with some common urban challenges that maybe you have also faced, such as a strong urban heat island, high soil ceiling, limiting green spaces. But we were also wondering on how to contrast or fight the uneven distribution of climate change impacts and the disparities between neighborhoods within a city. We were also considering the fragmented urban biodiversity. Starting from these urban challenges, we were looking for solutions, embedding nature-based solutions in urban policies and planning, as well as in entrepreneurial ecosystems, trying to tackle both environmental and social challenges together. We have acted across multiple and interconnecting dimensions. We have considered biodiversity, for example, by enhancing ecological functions and supporting urban ecosystems. We have considered the quality of life and human well being by improving environmental conditions and the access to green spaces. We put a lot of attention on social justice by striving for a more equitable distribution, not only of the environmental benefits, but also of potential burdens, and by promoting a genuinely just transition. We have put attention also to innovation through the development of monitoring systems, through long term management and maintenance strategies, and integration, of course, of new technologies. We have implemented co-creation processes by actively engaging local stakeholders, citizens, public administrations, and businesses in the design and implementation of solutions. I need to say that JUSTNature was never only about installing green infrastructure or testing nature-based solution. At its core, it focused on how we can co-create knowledge and co-create nature-based solution together. Across our six city practice labs, we co-identify sites, we co-design intervention, we begin building co-management arrangements that will continue also beyond the project. We learned that co-creation is not a fixed model. It depends a lot on people, on trust, local cultures, and on power dynamics. In some cities, for example, neighborhood communities transform green spaces into places of care, identity, stewardship. And importantly, expertise was not simply transferred to citizens, it evolved through participation. So we saw scientific, technical, and local knowledge growing together. In other cities, for example, attention put to specific social groups, such as prisoners, and this work with these groups was so intense that we understood that the real value of greening also detention spaces, also for human rights. I will just pass throughout some slides and photos because it's so difficult to explain what has happened in our city laboratories in a so short time. In general, each city practice lab has adapted and embedded the nature-based solutions and the ecological space justice into their context according to their needs and capacities. What does Just Nature leaves behind is cities equipped with experimented co-creation methods and with people who have gained practical experience in managing co-creation and urban greening processes. We left behind also strong networks of practitioners, researchers, and city officers who understand how to integrate justice into nature-based solutions. We have also developed digital and governance tools that can be responsibly scaled and adapted to different contexts. But we can also say that social equity and environmental ambition can reinforce each other when they are designed together. Cities, therefore, are not just places where solutions are implemented. They are living and practicing laboratories where Europe's just green transition is negotiated in practice. JUSTNature also delivered other concrete tools, including a digital twin to simulate nature-based solution impacts on microclimates, an entrepreneurship ecosystem approach focused on local value creation, and co-governance structures that support long-term stewardship and shared responsibility. But perhaps the most important innovation is the innovation of principles, an innovation connected to the collective ability to rethink priorities and values, embedding them into a conceptualization of ecological space justice, of course, when we address urban transformations. The Just in JUSTNature places ecological justice and social equity at the center of urban greening, not as an afterthought, but as a guiding principle, even in the implementation and in the management of the nature-based solutions. We have piloted participatory processes that actively involve citizens and stakeholders in both the design and the management of green solutions. One of the key pillars is co-creation. We have developed tools and methodologies that enable communities to engage meaningfully in the co-design of these solutions, ensuring that the local knowledge, the needs, the priorities are integrated. Alongside this, we emphasize co-governance, so the establishment of platforms and procedures that support shared management and long-term maintenance of nature-based solution interventions. This approach fostered a sense of collective responsibility and belonging, strengthening the social sustainability and durability of solutions over time. Sensors and digital models enable us to assess the real-world impacts of implemented solutions and to support evidence-based decision-making. From a technical perspective, JUSTNature has developed integrated monitoring systems for air quality and urban microclimate, data analytics tools to evaluate the environmental and social impacts of green solutions, the integration of a digital twin allowing us to simulate how urban microclimates respond to changes in green infrastructures. And together, these tools provide a robust scientific base for more informed, transparent, and evidence based urban planning and decision making. We have also actively fostered collaboration among businesses to promote the development of integrated solutions. For example, by encouraging synergies between green roof providers and photovoltaic system developers. The project has also strengthened networks among businesses, researchers, and public administrations, creating a collaborative ecosystem that supports innovation and knowledge exchange. A concrete local example is the dialogue initiated in Bolzano, in the northeastern Italy, between businesses working on photovoltaic roofs and those specializing in green roofs. This exchange has laid the groundwork for developing, integrating, and mutually reinforcing solutions that combine energy production with ecological and climate regulation functions. Such cross-sector collaboration opens up new economic opportunities, enhances the potential for exploitation of project results, and stimulates innovation in sustainable urban development. Saying that the change starts when the project ends, as was said by Farzana Gandhi at our final conference. I thank you all for your attention, and please visit the Just Nature website or contact us.
So thank you, Jessica, for the insights. I think defining cities as laboratories for green transition of Europe is really the key for Just Nature, and I hope there will be a continuation, and all the network will be kept alive, because you were also mentioning the importance of multi-stakeholder approach. So not only from the public, but also from the entrepreneurs, maybe from startups, some solutions that are going to be innovative and also societal. So I've seen some examples, but we will be talking about those examples a little bit more. So kindly stay in the platform, because now we are heading towards the panel discussion. We will be discussing the best practices and nature-based solutions examples from the EU-funded projects, including but not limited with JUSTNature. I know all of those have very different samples. So, but before that, we have a question in the chat. It says those adoption is also part of nature-based solution. So do you have an answer to this one, Jessica?
I'm not sure I got the question.
Well, I think I also need some clarification on the question. So it is Shah Khalid. If you may just clarify your question, I will read it at the end of the other section, and then we can answer. So while we keep Jessica here, I would like to invite the representatives of the other projects, UPSURGE and Invest4Nature. So from UPSURGE project, we have Darko Ferzeş, Head of EU Project Office at EZAVOD. We have two representatives from Invest4Nature, Agnieszka Dujova, Senior Specialist in International Interdisciplinary Projects, Project Coordination and Urban Regeneration Office, Poznan City Hall, so welcome on board. And Malgorzata Bronowska, Specialist in Interdisciplinary Project, which is calling us another interdisciplinary project for sure, Project Coordination and Urban Generation Office, again, Poznan City Hall. So welcome to our session. and we will be, as I said, we will be discussing the best practices and examples from your projects as well. So I'll be really specific while raising some questions. So the first question maybe we can discuss together with Jessica, Darko, and Agnieszka. Maybe so. What has been the single most important enabler of success in your nature-based solution implementation? It can be, I don't know, governance, community building, procurement, maintenance, financing, or it can be other examples. And how did you secure it in practice? So maybe Agnieszka, over to you, and then to Darko and Margozata. Jessica, Darko, and Agnieszka. So floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much for introduction and for having me here today. It's a very good question. And first, I would like to briefly present the context and tell you how it all began in Poznań. And as part of EU project and various financial frameworks, we present nature-oriented playgrounds and green schoolyards as our flagship initiatives. And the main idea behind this project is to transform public educational spaces into green oases for children and local communities and neighbors in the vicinity of these educational spaces. And in 2017, we launched our first Horizon project. It was the Connecting Nature project as part of the Horizon 2020 program. And to be honest, it was our first contact with nature-based solutions. And it is important to start with this because it was our starting point for our later further considerations and expansion of our knowledge, new experience within the topic of nature-based solutions. And some of this action taken at that time and also continued today in various forms have been recognized as nature-based solutions, as multifunctional, multi-benefits solutions that are being implemented in the city. And for us in Poznań, the single most important enabler has been strong ownership combined with deep stakeholder co-creation, especially with preschools or schools, teachers, children, also parents, local communities, as well as expert landscape architects and contractors. And from the start, we didn't actually treat nature-oriented playgrounds or green schoolyards as a technical greening project, but as a change in how public space is designed, governed, and used. And that meant building trust and at the same time working very closely with preschool or school communities through this participatory or co-creation workshops. And in practice, this gave us actually two things. First, better projects, because teachers and children shape spaces during this workshop, conceptual design, brainstorm workshops that actually work in daily preschool or school life. And second, this feeling of ownership and responsibility for this space. And for this project, of course. And there is also a small third thing, and maybe this is worth to highlight it, that we put the strong emphasis on nature-based solutions education in the office, as far as we can, of course. And so during such workshops, we try to smuggle the definition, the idea of the nature-based solutions concept, and try to in simple way show to our stakeholders what benefits nature-based solutions can bring to them and to the city. So EU projects like Connecting Nature and Invest4Nature project that we lead today help us professionalize this approach, especially around co-creation, governance models, and this financial logic. But honestly, this real breakthrough was embedding nature-based solutions into our routine city processes. And now we try to not treat this project as pilot or experiments anymore. And of course, this co-creation is the strong enabler for successful implementation of nature-based solutions in Poznań.
Thank you. It's really insightful to see kind of like starting from a pilot study and then going to another scale. It's really inspiring. Thank you. And Darko, what are your comments on this? Can you hear us, Darko? I think there's something wrong with the connection maybe. Then we can continue.
Yes.
Yeah, you can?
Hello.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there is some issue with the connection. Anyhow, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Over to
Okay. Yes, great. Thank you. Yes, my name is Darko Ferce. I'm coming from Slovenia, from the Institute, and we are lead partner of the UPSURGE project, which similarly as other projects were focusing on nature-based solutions, and especially in co-creation of nature-based solutions with citizens or end users. We had 5 demo cities: Belfast, Breda, Budapest, Katowice, and Maribor. Regarding of so what would be the biggest enabler for the success of the nature-based solutions in our project, it was also the interest of the local community. And here I would say that there are 2 types of interests. One is the interest from the end users, so from the citizens. We have been including them in living labs. We are calling them place labs because they are focusing on some places. And in the cases, if the community was very strongly involved, also the nature-based solutions were on one side better, but on the other side also it enabled the continuation of them. For example, in Belfast we built the community gardens, and the community of local association which is working on the Belfast garden took them over. So also the future of them would be guaranteed if it would stay just on the hands of the local population. However, we had another interest here, and this is the interest of the decision makers. Sometimes you get it, sometimes not. This is a little bit more bigger problem because decision makers are usually looking on their mandate. So is it 5 years? And nature-based solutions as such are a bit problematic in their eyes because they are not big enough for them to showcase that they are really successful and that they would get another elections after 4 years. That's why, at least in our cases, sometimes we got some hindering from the decision makers. In our project, all the investments have been implemented, but for example, again, we had this city of Belfast, in which the opposition now wanted to make a big football stadium in the place of our nature-based solutions, and ironically, this football stadium would be built with plastic grass. Which is totally wrong direction, but this of course can also happen. So yes, to answer to this, basically we need the interest of local population and interest of the policy. Of course, these 2 things are connected. If nature-based solutions would rank very high in the population, also decision makers would not object it.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning the challenges. Maybe we can also find a way to find solutions to the common challenges, because as we are working with the cities, with different authorities, the challenges that you're raising now can be the problems of the other cities as well. So, and nature-based solutions is something really alive and impactful for the lives of the people. But of course, the strategies are also there from the policy end. But thank you for raising it up. And Jessica, a few words from your end and from JUSTNature. I know it was really, we were in the closing conference last week, and we had a visit to a cemetery and also a prison. So those were the two live experiences that I've also seen. So what you have in hand, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was, it was interesting to see from the other projects today that we have some common lines, especially when we talk about co-creation or a co-ownership also of the nature-based solution. In JUSTNature, for the activation of nature-based solution, we also run co-creation processes with different urban actors, with different people. And even if at the beginning of the project, or even before, when we wrote the project proposal, we co-identified sites, so engaging few actors at that stage. Numerous pilot cases changed at the beginning because proved to be unfeasible, because it was difficult to engage people around the co-creation process for that site, or because there was low acceptability to intervene on that site. However, along the implementation of JUSTNature, new and promising pilots emerged and were successfully implemented, supported by the urban actors and the citizens. And then it started the phase of co-design intervention and began building co-management arrangements that will continue beyond the project, working on that sense of belonging to the nature-based solution implemented. And another important thing that I'd like to stress is that public officers and local administrations strengthened a lot their skills in managing co-creation processes and in initiating collaborative governance structures and dynamics. There was a real concrete true process of careful and continuous listening, and there was also this attention, this ability to adapt the interventions according to the local priorities and needs that are not only the political priorities and needs, but we are also talking about the priorities and needs of people, of inhabitants. And we have consistently embedded all these processes into the principles of ecological space justice, meaning justice both for the communities living around the sites, but also for the surrounding natural ecosystems. And all these aspects made the nature-based solutions interventions more effective. As said before, it was very important to find and to see all the collaborations between local authorities, research institutions, small, medium enterprises, because the scientific, the business, and local knowledge grew together, embracing innovation. And we are not talking only about technological innovation, but we are also talking about cultural and social innovation, somehow attributing new values and meanings to the nature-based solution that we have implemented. So we, in this direction, we also helped fostering a strong sense of shared ownership among the actors involved. And this will help support in the long term, maintaining in the long term the nature-based solution. So concluding, as you were saying, maybe the most important enabler of success is the community buy-in. But as said by Darko, even the political support from local administration was helping.
Thank you, Jessica. And taking from this point on, like maintaining long-term nature-based solutions, I'm heading to the second question to maybe Darko and Agnieszka. How are you planning for long-term ownership, maintenance, and maybe project financing when you come to the end of the project? And do you see any role from the market actors or investors, like for them, or are they going to really play an important role in the continuation of the actions you have taken and scaling your nature-based solution initiatives? I know it's a tricky topic to be discussed, and it is also not something that we can do from one day to another, but would be really great to see your insights.
Yes, if I may start. The owners of all nature-based solutions in our case are municipalities, or in one case is regional development agency, but they will give these nature-based solutions to the municipality in the future. Maintenance, of course, it is in the hands of municipalities. These nature-based solutions are not the only nature-based solutions in the city, and of course, with our investments, we just made some complementary actions to the already existing ones. And if you look at all nature-based solutions in the city, maybe it is less than 1% of impact of everything altogether. So existing parks and green spaces. Of course, what we did is that we maybe showcased a little bit different nature-based solutions in which they did not do in the past, and since now they have a little bit more ideas. Also, they are or they will be upscaled with more actions. For example, in the case of Maribor, they revitalized about 500 meters of the stream. Skokar is one of the streams. But after this project ended, municipality will also do the same in the whole stream. So it will be at the end. So in a few years, this renaturalization will be about 10 times bigger than it was just in our project. Very similarly is going on also in other cities. For example, Katowice will be greening the bus stops also in the future. But of course, everywhere we have a municipality as investor. We did not have any private investors. They do not have any interest in this. So in my point of view, public sector or municipalities are the one who should be really focusing on nature-based solutions and making regulations. It is not necessary that they are always investor but for example, if they would give like building permits to some company which would make a large like block of houses, they could also say that this building permit is not for free. You have to do some nature-based solutions. In this case, they would of course have to do it if they would have to, if they would like to make the business there. So yes, but basically I do not expect any problems with the maintenance of the nature-based solutions. They are already in the system alongside with all other greenery in the municipalities.
Okay, thank you. And Agnieszka?
Yes, thank you. Actually, this is probably the hardest part, and honestly, in Poznań, this long-term maintenance of nature-based solution is also still largely treated as a public responsibility. So it continues to rely mainly on municipal budgets. And for instance, when it comes to our natural playgrounds program, the city finances design and implementation, but also remains responsible for maintenance in the future, in the long run. We recently evaluated 10 kindergartens and found that while the spaces work well, this long-term care still depends entirely on public funding and procurement. And actually, the same applies to green schoolyards funded through EU integrated territorial investments. So EU funds cover constructions, but after that, ownership and maintenance return to the city and schools. And we are therefore currently working on introducing a permanent budget lines for nature-based solutions instead of this project-based funding. But it's really, it's the process step by step, and we are at the beginning of this process, and this is still a long way to go before these solutions become institutionalized here. And when it comes to market actors, realistically, let's say, we do not expect that private investors replace this public funding in schools and preschools environment, because this spaces generates, as we know, mainly social and environmental value, not financial return, but we do see this strong potential in supporting roles. For instance, some projects which are based on CSR partnerships with companies contributing material, some expertise or employee volunteering, also cooperation with NBEs for design, monitoring and maintenance innovation. This is something that we now analyze in the Poznań, what NBEs we have here on site, and also some pilot blended finance models that will test also in a couple of months through our Invest4Nature project. So we see the strong potential in this solutions, and we will try to do our best to analyze them and also include in the project in schools and preschools. So our model is public funding as the backbone, and market actors are enablers and accelerators for this. But this balance is crucial if nature-based solutions are to scale without losing the public value mission. Yes, so it's really hard and challenging topic. The maintenance, the long run maintenance of nature-based solutions, especially as also Darko said, that this is still primarily on the public side. It's the long process to institutionalize this.
Even if it's a long process, it is like, as I can see, all of the precautions you have taken so far is like building blocks. So you're not reinventing anything, but you build on your strategies based on the existing know-how that you generated through your projects like Invest4Nature. There was this poster project and JUSTNature, and the other project was like UPSURGE. Okay. So going ahead, we of course. We always discuss the impact of the EU funded projects, and the last question before we go to the questions of the audience is that if a new EU funded nature-based solution project wants to maximize real-world adaptation, so based on your expertise, what are your top 2 practical recommendations to build a clear pathway from research and pilots to sustained implementation? So it can be, you can give samples from the business models and city uptake and all. So maybe we can start this time from Malgorzata and continue with Jessica and with Darko. Over to Malgorzata.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for invitation. I will refer partly to what has Agnieszka just said about recommendations, because we are related. My first recommendation is, as early as possible, to integrate the project into the city decision-making and budgeting system. Pilots are naturally limited to the pilot phase, both financially and institutionally. However, in most cases, it is possible to align the project with the city's decision-making and financing frameworks in a way that supports future scaling. In practical terms, this means including the project in the city's official investment plans, aligning it with strategic documents, embedding it in the city's design and implementation standards. And although it's the most difficult step, reflecting it in the multi-year financial forecast. The overall aim is to turn the project into a standard investment practice, not just a one-time EU-funded initiative. Relating it to Poznań, according to this recommendation, after implementing NBS with the previous EU-funded project, Connecting Nature, Poznań is now launching a 3-year initiative called the NBS Academy. I guess Agnieszka already said about this, embedded in its strategic goals and financed by the city. So this is what we are now in to fulfill this recommendation. I have also chosen the second recommendation. It is to develop from the very early stage of the pilot a clear cooperation and financial model, but it concerns especially those scale projects that are recommended to be implemented together with external partners, mainly business. If the scale projects cannot be continued only by the city, it is necessary to prepare and standardize a cooperation model between the public and private sector to ensure the project can be sustained in the future. In practical terms, it means developing well-working public-private cooperation models. A real win-win situation is necessary to confirm successful implementation in the future, creating a set of incentives for the private sector to join the program in the scaling phase, and establishing clear promotion standards for initiatives implemented together with business partners. Here, the overall aim is to make sure that scaling up is financially and organizationally secured already during the pilot phase, not only after EU funding. So here again, referring it to Poznań case. Poznań is now testing a cooperation model between the city, business and NGOs in one of the districts to support green-blue infrastructure. We are in the pilot phase, and our aim is to find a model that works well for future projects, where business invests in green initiatives and also meet their own goals. So these are our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you for all the insights. And Agnieszka also previously indicated the importance of voluntary work as well. And then maybe it can be added to that angle under the civil society and the public one. So thank you for the insights. And Jessica?
Yeah, thank you for this question. We are running closing to the end of JUSTNature project. So these questions are really important for us at this stage. Yeah, I can say that JUSTNature leaves behind much more than the project's results. We had to recognize that JUSTNature leaves behind strengthened public administrations, where officers have developed solid co-creation skills, but also solid technical expertise on how to co-design and implement nature-based solutions. Capacity that I could say that are still rare in many European local authorities. And we also left behind some other important things, such as networks of businesses, public authorities and citizens who have learned to work together. So they co-created, they started to co-manage and co-maintain the nature-based solution intervention that we implemented along JUSTNature. I think that's the challenge now, is that these energies from all these urban actors often fade when a project formally ends. And this, I think, my opinion is that this is precisely where the European Union has a crucial role to play. The European Union should not only recognize what has been achieved during our 4.5 years of funding, it should somehow act as a catalyst, acknowledging the real transformation often begins when the project officially closes. So when communities, institutions, urban actors are ready to carry their work forward independently. They can do independently somehow, but of course, they still need to be recognized and supported. And another important element is that supporting exploitation results is essential, but this should also go beyond the technological innovation. Of course, technologies need pathways for replication, for upscaling, and so on. But we should also recognize that social innovation deserves the same recognition and support. For example, the knowledge developed within institutions, the governance capacities raised along these years, the neighborhood communities that have formed, and the practices of shared ownership and communities-based management. All these are valuable outcomes that require continued backing and that can promote further and long-term maintenance of the nature-based solutions that we have implemented in JUSTNature. So, if we truly want lasting impact, we must invest in keeping these processes alive, supporting communities, supporting institutions, enabling shared ownership and co-governance models. We really need to recognize that some people and institutions gained so much knowledge that is fundamental to continue working towards the green transitions.
Thank you, Jessica. I've been taking some notes about the keywords. Like I can hear from all of you like the keywords like shared ownership, co-design, co-governance. So and now of course the EU needs to also make sure that like the results are exploited and even goes beyond that. So Darko, what are your comments on this?
I would say like this. It's quite easy to think or to say what the others should do for us, and especially when it is when it's going to the European Union, yeah, they should do something, and politicians should do something. But I would say that basically the way is kind of everything. It is the way around us. Is how I say it. So to maximize real world adoption, we need better human nature. So we, as a Homo sapiens, we are around for 200,000 years at least. And in the last 200 years, this is less than 1% of our existence. We have managed to come to the to the situation where we have to discuss nature-based solutions, where we have to accept rules that it will be the nature as it was in the past, and this is quite sad. And the problem is that we have lost the connection with the nature, and we have, of course, also lost the connection with ourselves. And basically, if the human would keep listening to ourselves, so we are part of the nature, we should understand ourselves not of being, different than nature. We are part of nature. We came from the nature. We will also go to the nature at the end. But if we will have nature in our hearts, then also the cities would be full of nature-based solutions, because nobody would live in the city which would not be green. And if we will change the values of the citizens, that we will demand greenery, also politicians will follow us, and we would not have the events that we had today. We would not have the projects that we finished in the past, because this would be the natural part, and this would be something completely everyday work for the cities. So I would say that if we will change our values to be more nature friendly, we can start with ourselves. We can, of course, try to teach our children, teach the politicians, teach business makers. But when a lot of us will change ourselves, will change our values, then of course also the nature will follow, and we will have a lot of more nature-based solutions around us.
Thank you, Darko. So maybe that's time to do some kind of self-reflection work as well. So thank you for this reminder. Like we are now going to. So thank you all of you for all the insights and inputs. We have a couple of questions here. While I'm reading through all the questions, there will be also a short form that we will ask all of the attendees to reply. It's only 8 questions, so you can just have a look at it, and it is going to help us gather insights on best practices, shortcomings, and needs on public-private collaborations leading to nature-based solutions ecosystems, and ultimately nature-based solution entrepreneurial opportunities and markets. So for all the audience, if you can just kindly fill it in. And then I will read the questions that you have. One of them is, I think, to you, Jessica, because it was about your presentation. It says, when mapping urban socio-ecological disparities, how do you balance quantitative indicators with lived experience and local knowledge, as it will be case specific? So does it, if it rings a bell, then yeah, that's over to you, Jessica, for this question.
Thank you very much for the question. When we developed the socio-ecological profiles, it was not so easy to merge quantitative and qualitative information. I mean, we can also get quantitative information, for example, on the heat urban island or on the social demographic characteristics and so on. But for developing and for confirming the results also of the socio-ecological profiles, we talked a lot with the urban actors, with the public authorities, and so on, trying to confirm the relevance of the quantitative data that we were using, and also to integrate those quantitative data with relevant information, because then the socio-ecological profiles have the aim at understanding where nature-based solutions should be prioritized. Considering also the conceptualization of ecological space justice. So looking at how ecological and social justice are spread within cities, because sometimes we see also some disparities between the neighborhoods. So we reproduced this cycle, including quantitative data, but then qualitative information, and we do this several times for making the results the results more comfortable and supported also from the urban actors and decision makers.
Thank you. And another question is from Carl. It says like, I'd love to know if any of your projects have conducted cost-benefit analysis when integrating nature-based solutions, and are they publicly available to view? Any of you who would like to give a comment to this?
I'd like to share some experience from our side, because in our project we are testing our main output of the project. This is a DS toolbox. This is the online tool to compare also to compare costs and benefits of nature-based solutions. So we have already tested it here in our town hall, but it was only a testing phase. I'm not sure if that was the question, but we experienced this testing, but only for giving some feedback to our project leaders.
Thank you, Malgorzata. And the last question is, in coastal region, especially if we want to pilot an NBS initiative, what elements, natural or human related, should be considered at the early stage, and continuation and sustainability? Any of you would like to give insights about this? Do you want me to read it through again? So it's asked, so if they're going to plan, they're going to have a pilot for an NBS initiative in a coastal region. So what elements should be considered at the early stage and for its continuity and sustainability? Any notes? Darko?
Oh, yes. Basically, we did not have really coastal regions in our project, but we had one city which is a follow-up city. This was Patras, and they made some plans of what they would like to do in the future. And I believe that this is not true just for the coastal regions, but to any region, that you have to be place-based. So you have to think about what is situation in your city. For example, Patras is in Greece, so the area is in the summer very hot. They wanted to change the surroundings of one of the schools, and in the whole area of the school there is just one tree, and at this moment it looks really sad. So of course, if you are in the coastal region and if this region has very hot summer, of course it's quite obvious that you would do something to cool it down. But I'm saying to any kind of regions, first you have to discuss with your citizens, so what they perceive as a problem. And even if they do not have the solution, of course, then there is on the municipality to find appropriate company who is planning the nature-based solutions. But of course, we have to ask the citizens, and this is similarly goes for the sustainability. Basically, of course, the most of the funding then depends on the municipality. But in the case if you can involve citizens very on the ground, for example, we had this Belfast case, they can manage and maintain nature-based solutions with their own interest. But this, of course, depends on the type of nature-based solutions. In the case of the urban gardeners, this is possible, but in some other cases, probably it's not realistic to think that people would go and water the flowers that has been implemented by municipality.
Thank you. So there are two more questions. However, I think two of them we have already given the answer. So two of them, like the importance of industry and the stakeholder, how we can attract their attention to NBS. I think it was the answer was given already, and the other one again the same. So it says like how do you make sure that they are maintained in a long lasting way. What is the buy-in by local actors? So this was also, so if it is not, if you have additional questions, please just write it in the chat. But the last question maybe can be answered by one of you. It asks, so Caroline asks, how and for how long do you monitor social benefits of the NBS projects? So it's about monitoring. Any of you have comments on it? I know there are some upcoming calls about monitoring the social benefits of NBS and so on, but as per your expertise in your project, so how long and how do you monitor the social benefits? Any methods, anything? So from just nature, we had a very good slide that was shared last week in the conference. So it was a methodology to monitor from A to Z. But do you have any practical samples that you can share very quickly?
Yeah, before to underline the part on social impacts, I wanted to answer a little bit on about the elements and seeds for the long-lasting maintenance. We have interesting case studies in which for example, a urban garden in northeast Italy, or a schoolyard and another urban garden in Zombafelli, Hungary. And the actors, the students of the schools, the different neighborhood inhabitants, really co-designed and are already co-maintaining and making this maintenance of these urban gardens and nature-based solution that we have implemented. While we were thinking and implementing the nature-based solution, the co-creation processes, we were also thinking to create these nature building communities. So we introduced several dynamics, several also participatory, let's say, co-creation methods that tried to strengthen the relationships and the quality of relationships between these people that were engaged. So we really see that we have now in some neighborhoods where there's social cohesion, the people love to go at the urban garden and to contribute to the maintenance. So this is very helpful in supporting the long-term maintenance in certain situations. In other situations, this is not possible. For example, when I talk about the green wall in Chania, Greece, that is more related to local authority. So in that case, it's much more intended to go to further public support to make the political sphere understanding that it's really important to go to continue maintaining these kind of infrastructures, to replicate, to upscale, and so on. And considering the nature building communities, we have also developed a platform, a co-governance platforms, and it's really nice because when you have a nature-based solution, you can ask to people and stakeholders to join the platform, and then you have some. You can create a common document of conduct or a common document with shared rules, and you have step by step all the different activities that are asked to the different actors involved for the implementation and the maintenance of this nature-based solution. And this is also helping to promote the co-ownership of these nature-based solutions.
Thank you, Jessica, for all the insights, and thank you all of you for your contributions to the panel. And I sincerely hope to working with you further in the NBS solutions and in the other projects as well. So now it is time for us to close our session, and we are heading to our speaker. Excuse me, who will give us insights about nature-based solutions markets and business perspectives. Andreas Türk. He's a senior researcher and the head of the International Climate Policy and Economics. So, Andreas, over to you. And if you will have any questions to Andreas, please leave it in the chat. I'll be reading through. Thank you.
Hello, Andreas Türk here. 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Not now. Please kindly try again.
Then I will unshare and reshare.
We can see you, and then if you okay.
Now you can see my screen.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. Actually, I'm presenting on behalf of Lydia, my colleague. She is sick. The presentation is part of Invest4Nature. I'm the coordinator, and I will speak about a very difficult topic, market and business perspective. Invest4Nature was already mentioned earlier. We will end in September 2026 with 5 living labs across diverse European landscapes. And our idea was to understand the economics of nature-based solutions and also to accelerate investments, create business models. Some key reports are understanding what is driving the supply and demand for MBS, drivers and barriers for MBS uptakes, and of course policy recommendations. We're just working on them. Second. This is it looks very complicated, but we mapped the supply sectors across different landscape types and the demand sectors based on literature, but also interviews with our living labs. The supply comes a lot from public, professional services, NGO, academia, residents, utilities and infrastructure, bits, agriculture and forestry, but the demand is still mainly public. We see some sectors emerging as possible demand sectors like real estate. They want green neighborhoods, or even utilities, agriculture and forestry. But so far, most MBS are very small in scale and publicly funded. And one of the biggest barriers or enablers for MBS uptake, of course, there's a knowledge gap. We need capacity building and sharing MBS success stories as we did it earlier. There's often a very low public interest in MBS. So we can mitigate this via awareness raising campaigns. But also institutional inertia. I will speak a bit later on the institution, on the financing bodies, regulatory gaps. So far, embedding MBS within legal and urban planning frameworks is quite scattered, and all this fragmentation leads to very small projects that are not scalable or even not implementable. Then financial constraints for long-term maintenance. The maintenance of MBS can be very, very costly, and some cities told me it's easier to have parking lots than green spaces from the maintenance cost perspective. So we need long-term funding, financial mechanisms beyond the project life cycle. There's a lack of sustained political will. We hope that this will change now because the member states have to implement the nature restoration law. Unlocking private capital into MBS with a special survey made by one of our partners. I think we have more than 120 answers with credit institutions, banks, investment funds, asset managers, insurance companies. But also we spoke with a lot of financial institutions, and some insights, regulatory hurdles, higher risk profiles. MBS projects can be very complex, and for financing institutions that maybe want to become a bit more green, it's much easier to implement in energy projects that are similar, scalable. There's for investors often a data gap, data deficiencies. The revenues are quite uncertain, high transaction costs. But as I mentioned earlier, there are high potential sectors that are just emerging, that are in a starting position and need to be accelerated. For example, agriculture, urban projects. We need sustainability-aligned capital, and also green or sustainability bonds are quite promising avenues. But as I mentioned, in our discussions with a range of banks, insurance companies, they told us, well, they know how to finance, and they're doing the financing since decades. And suddenly some academics come and propose new business models. This is unrealistic. We need to understand how these institutions function and how these institutions can stepwise broaden up their portfolio and add additional activities into their portfolio. They will continue to do what they did in the last decades, but they can slowly modify their routines. As I mentioned earlier, adaptation projects or MBS projects are often small and very context specific. And the financing institutions told us there's a lack of knowledge about the local context. There's a lack of interaction with spatial planners, and this makes it extremely risky. And we see there are actually three communities. We have the scientific community, is us. The scientific community is already, to some extent, interacting with cities, like in Invest4Nature, in the other projects with local planners. But financial institutions are completely disconnected from this discourse, from these insights, from data. They're not used to read academic reports or non-academic reports. Yeah, some policy recommendations. Integrate MBS into urban planning and zoning. Here we have a good practice in Poland. Regulations mandating biologically active playgrounds areas, catalyze market interest among real estate developers. But most importantly, we need to intensify the discussions and the collaboration with private investors. Maybe a small startup can take the risk and do something completely new, but the big ones and the established ones will be very slow and carefully assessing risks, data, uncertainty. Another recommendation is to develop sub-sovereign green bonds, because banks are already used to deal with bonds. So this would be just a modification of things they're doing anyway, and they have a lot of experience. On a national level, clear national biodiversity and MBS targets in the nature restoration plans. Actually, Austria is a laggard here, so we have to make also lobbying in Austria. Integrate MBS into national climate strategies, biodiversity impact compensation, but also an important recommendations is, I think we have to find ways to include nature-based solutions in economic structure, in the economic structures, in economic patterns, and mainstream them in the economy, but also mainstream them across different governance levels. Some recommendations on European Union level. We need standardized monitoring evaluation methodologies that don't fully exist. Create biodiversity compensation offset mechanisms like nature credits. Nature credits are planned, but I think they need to be operationalized. Currently, it's only a concept. Integrate MBS in broader sustainable financing policy landscape. Harmonize MBS criteria, metrics, data points across the different areas, taxonomy, SFDR, CSRD. This is sometimes just not consistent and harmonized. And we need regulatory clarity for investors to reduce uncertainty. For example, scope reduction in CSRD puts burden on banks to obtain necessary information from business. So clarity, data, uncertainty, we have to mitigate this on national levels, on European Union levels. This was my little intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. So, especially recommendations for unlocking private capital is really critical.
Yeah.
And the co-funding, maybe finding out some kind of co-funding options, and to make sure that MBS is always in the strategies of the corporates and the private investors is really key. And the word that you also indicated, like MBS is considered to be an academic work.
Yeah.
It's really a red flag, I think. When we also heard all the comments.
Yeah, and so what we plan to do, this was one of the recommendations for the Invest4Nature last review meeting. We should make events together with investors, and we plan maybe in April or May a webinar inviting investors, banks, and to present Invest4Nature results, maybe also results from sister projects to see how they react.
Yes.
We want to understand the communication and knowledge gap between us, academics, and those who need to invest, and that is a gap.
Okay, thank you. Recommendation is well noted and well taken. So now, before we conclude, we are also going to have a small small survey that is going to be shared by our team. But I would like to give you some insights about what we have been doing so far in Crowd Helix. If you can, if I'm just doing like this, I hope you can see my screen. If any of you can just confirm, I'll be really quick. In 5 minutes, I'll be giving you some kind of insights about what we have been doing so far and what we are eager to do together with all of you in the upcoming phases. Crowd Helix was part of, and still is, the project, like the reporting, everything continues, so was part of JUSTNature project. We set up a community under JUSTNature, and it is called Nature Building Helix. And under this Helix community is a model for all the stakeholders to be embedded, and now we make sure that it is supported by an AI, a smart system. And in our Helix impact model, we are doing stakeholder analysis, some kind of matchmaking and clustering initiatives, and we make sure that like we are connecting the innovators through our recommender engine and so on. And in the projects we are taking part as an impact partner, and we of course do the work like social media websites and open webinars and newsletters, but we go beyond that with the online community that we set up. So now in JUSTNature we are there in the enhanced project impact section, which means that the Helix will be continuing 2 years more, and it is going to give us a chance to spread out the information that are generated by similar projects and by JUSTNature project 2 years more, and to generate new maybe initiatives, new projects together. So here is the Nature Building Helix, and you can do some, you can post the opportunities, you can see the opportunities, and you can become one of the organizations or the experts in the Helix. So as you can see now, we have 562 experts from 241 organizations from 46 countries, and you'll be also able to see all the project like achievements and everything. Here it is mentioning the last meeting that was organized by our coordinator Jessica and the team, and then once you click on the Helix, you will be able to see more opportunities and also funding opportunities as well. So as I said at the very beginning, I'm the global consultancy lead in Crowd Helix. This is why by nature I wanted to bring on board some kind of new opportunities that we can work together. I know some of the deadlines are really close, but some of them are like with the deadline of December, November. All the slides will be there, and then we are open to have roundtable meetings with all of you in order to see how we can take this the new knowledge that is generated through the projects and go one step ahead. There are some keywords again here. For example, fighting disinformation and effectively communicating on climate change. And there is one project on like opportunity for fostering competencies, which like you also, Darko, mentioned the importance of education and so on. And there is also one another next generation climate monitoring and related capabilities. So as I said, all of these will be, all of the presentations will be shared with all of you, so you will be able to reach them out. I don't want to take much time, so maybe Andrea, if you may just note down whether you have already shared the event assessments or not. Then we can maybe conclude and wrap up the session very quickly. So, any questions from the audience? Any final questions from the audience? I think no. And any comments from our distinguished participants of the day? Okay. So, okay. Then the takeovers. It was so we have too much keywords. Takeovers are really in the now in our minds, in our souls, with self-reflection calls and with co-creation models. With the best practices from these projects. All of these projects are the best practices that we can definitely be inspired. for the upcoming term. So thank you for the time of our distinguished speakers and panelists, and thank you for your time for participating to this event. Andrea, please share the questionnaire. And if you will have any kind of questions for the continuation for the upcoming phases, please contact us or contact the project coordinators and the project teams. And please also see the comments that was given by Invest4Nature's, like they shared a toolbox for you. And I know in JUSTNature there is also a model that you can use. So we are going to share the slides, and but I think we're not going to share the registration list, but the slides will be around. So thank you very much to all of you.